If this isn't sick, sexual harassment, I don't know what is.
You won't believe the controversy erupting at the College of the Mainland in recent days, all over what used to be just a cookie.
Eat me!
Boy, times have changed.
You're a monster!
The gingerbread man is now a genderbread, a dual credit college psych class being taught by a comm professor at a Santa Fe high school.
Your faculty member wanted my daughter, who's a minor by the way, to describe how sexually attracted to other women she was.
To do this to minors, I mean, it is pathetic.
I didn't know anything about it, but I was disappointed to know that that was the official stand that the college took, and I can't stand with it.
This is what higher education is. It's critical thinking.
The comm trustee over Santa Fe is Melissa Skipworth, who we last saw shooting the bird at her husband's critics, the controversial mayor of Dickinson, Sean Skipworth.
I'm the Dick of Dickinson.
And sex wasn't the only thing on the agenda of public speakers at that college headquarters meeting.
We've got a gentleman, the mayor, who was taking a paycheck from the city of Dickinson as the mayor, and at some point he was taking a check as a city councilman. And he's also taking a check from y'all. And so what that involves here is a conflict of interest.
The criticism of the politician we've dubbed the Dick of Dickinson is mounting. Now the owners of the long-shuttered Creekside apartments are finally giving the city an ultimatum. 30 days to vote to redevelop the property as the mayor and city manager Theo Melanson had promised the owners 15 months ago, or face a massive lawsuit that could bankrupt the city.
What do they want? They want to redevelop. They have this grand plan that they want to beautify that part of town. Okay, wonderful. We will do that with you. We will work with you.
The clock is ticking, a Calcan family representative wrote to city officials. We've been reporting on the Creekside case since the holiday season in late 2022, when the city cut off the hot water and later forced 200 low-income families out in the streets during Christmas. There is no debate that the Creekside apartments near the critical intersection of 45 and 517 had building code violations. The place is 50 years old, and some of the place was still unoccupied after massive damage from a hurricane and should have been demolished. But that wasn't the whole story. Did Creekside deserve to be shut down? The city's own records show the Calcan family had always repaired any violations the city had found during inspections.
You know, we've invested millions of dollars in that property to bring it back up online again.
Our investigation found evidence the city targeted the apartment complex for closure, even before they conducted an inspection in May of 2022, even bringing police to the complex as part of their invasion. The city drafted a press release the day before that inspection, announcing Creekside was being shut down. Tenants moved out. Here's an email with the mayor reacting to that press release. Looks good to me. During that inspection that next day, the Calcan family believes it was the beginning of the sabotage plan.
The city officials themselves, the mayor himself, had stepped onto my property and spoke to my residents and said, look, this place is so terrible, right? If I were you, I would not pay rent. Don't worry about rent. Don't pay rent.
Most tenants did stop paying rent after that inspection. In the summer and fall of 22, the Dickinson Building Commission ruled the place should be shut down. The first department we know of ordered shut down in Dickinson. But our investigation found evidence the city had misrepresented the living conditions in the pictures they showed the commission. The Calcan family, they believe a gas leak in a boiler that winter was another part of the, quote, sabotage. And it was a damaging blow to the reputation of Calcan Capital. With $1 billion in assets, hundreds of apartment projects, the publicity from Dickinson even reached investors in the Israeli stock exchange, where Calcan stock is traded. In a text message, Mayor Skipworth called Creekside a slum, that the city had received an influx of complaints even before that May inspection. The city, though, could not produce a single record of these alleged complaints. But there were several complaints within hours of the inspection about mold in apartments. We looked for evidence of that after Creekside was shuttered, but we didn't see it.
The first time they ever tried to condemn me, the first time that the city is approaching me with this much aggression out of nowhere,
After we aired our investigation into the city's conduct in 22, one of the members of the Building Standard Commission said they felt played by City Hall.
I believe that we probably were misled on how bad it really was.
Last week, a meeting of that very same Dickinson Building Commission got canceled. The public wasn't told why, but we know why. 4 members have resigned. There's no longer a quorum. Wilcox says there is fear they could be individually sued if the Calcans now follow through with that threatened lawsuit. The demand letter, it came from Houston attorney Jeff Diamond, part of a team of lawyers helping the family. That is the same law firm that's helping my company fight the illegal secrecy at Dickinson City Hall. They were chosen by Tony Busby because they had seen so much of the Dickinson story. So why are the Creekside owners finally laying down the gauntlet with Dickinson City Hall? It's the story the taxpayers haven't been told. In December of 22, Dickinson City officials directed Creekside owners to work on a $750 million redevelopment plan, the largest in the city's history, a plan to transform the area around Dietz Road.
Well, we brought the city planners, we brought the architects, we brought the investors, we designed the entire project. We made quite a bit of progress.
A new home for City Hall, police headquarters, and retail, sort of like the Sugarland Town Square. The family had spent more than $100,000 on experts after that, and by April, that comprehensive design and plans were all done. The Calcans set off to begin buying the land around the complex. There had already been a flurry of real estate transactions, and the sales prices were interestingly skyrocketing. Perhaps more evidence another use for the area had been leaked a long time before. A draft press release was created, approved by the Dickinson EDC director, but at the last minute, hours before its planned public release, Mayor Sean Skipworth,
I'm the Dick of Dickinson,
put the deal on hold without any explanation to the Calcan family. They say the mayor likely cost the city its best chance to lure in business. Then the Calcans hired Tony Busby. In December, Mayor Skipworth resurfaced and held a secret meeting with the founder of the company. A meeting arranged by this woman, Lamarck City Councilwoman Kim Yancey. Her family's church had bought property near Creekside and would have been part of the financial deal. Everyone agreed to not talk about the hard feelings in hopes of a new agreement. The Calcans presented a new plan. The city would buy the Creekside property and over 7 years pay them back the value of the place before that controversial May inspection. At the meeting, Dickinson city manager said this. In an email, Mayor Skipworth promised the plan would be put on the agendas of the city council and EDC. The family told us they believe it would be on the public agenda. Instead, the EDC talked about it in executive session, and they decided they didn't want to spend the money. We had been beating them up over that $13 million they had already spent on mostly unused land. And we've learned the financial details the city manager and mayor had reviewed were never shown to city council. The Calcans said they then presented a third redevelopment plan, all in, quote, good faith. They would invest $30 million redeveloping the apartment complex, and the city would come up with about $10 million in grants and incentives to help. So the mayor's sudden decision last year to block the transformation of Dickinson for about $750 million was now down to just fixing up the apartments and nothing else. And the Calcans say it wasn't their fault. They had received praise from the city manager. Then there was a March city council meeting. It passed, no Creekside on the agenda. 15 months, and the city manager had told the Calcan representative something in a phone call that raised alarm bells for them. The assessed value of Creekside, once valued at $30 million, had now gone from $13 million assessed value to $1 million. It suggested to the family that the city was monitoring the deteriorating financial conditions of the Calcans investment. Was it really just a plan to take their property all along for a song? And that's what led to the demand letter sent to the city attorney last week. Another letter sent to other city officials made it clear the wounds have festered. Quote, ownership publicly ignored the improper events of early 2022, including the false and hurtful comments that members of ownership were, quote, slumlords. In fact, these slumlord comments continue to be publicly stated from the council dais as recent as this past month.
The owners of Creekside Apartments should be ashamed of their actions in taking advantage of folks who had nowhere to go and were held hostage by slumlords. The city has not been sued by the owners of Creekside Apartments. It is doubtful that we will be.
Remember those words, and the mayor's, because if the Calcans now move ahead with that promised lawsuit, the city will have to defend those comments. And whether you agree or not with them, it's the kind of thing that may now jeopardize the city's financial future. And this likely won't help. It's an email the Calcan family got back a week ago from the mayor. And these words may come back to haunt him too, threatening to move forward with condemning Creekside, calling the litigation threats frivolous. Quoting, Dr. Calcan has not regularly updated the city as he's required to do under the MOU. But we know from public records that is demonstrably false. The Calcan family kept updating the city this year, even after the Building Standards Commission held a meeting in February to vote to stop even asking for updates. And the mayor falsely claimed the Calcan second redevelopment plan early this year was a, quote, non-starter. The idea the city would buy the Creekside property and then pay the Calcans the value over 7 years. The mayor in the email says the property would then be owned again by the Calcans, but we've seen the plan and that's simply not true. We don't care what the city decides to do, but that meeting in January, both the mayor and city manager said they liked the Calcans' proposal. The family says they have proof of this, but they refuse to let us show it to you. Notice this email from the mayor does not include members of Dickinson City Council, keeping them in the dark once again about the growing legal war clouds in the city. How long will the city council let that continue? I want folks to remember, it's the mayor of Dickinson who's picked a fight with us, like he's done with lots of folks. And you know what? We don't like bullies.
Someone has hired an investigative reporter to dig around and put a hit piece together and do public information requests.
Mayor Skipworth exposed his disdain for state transparency laws even before our very first story more than 2 years ago, and then engaged in a campaign to withhold public records. That's why we first sued. And sadly, that secrecy continues even today. One of the reasons 1,000 people signed a petition recently to recall the mayor. A petition City Council refused to accept. That will likely go to court too.
The City of Dickinson just continues to violate the Public Information Act. And in addition to violating the Public Information Act, they've now violated the Texas Open Meetings Act. And that can't stand, so we've had to amend our lawsuit to hold them accountable.
We have now filed a much bigger lawsuit over transparency, accusing the city and the Dickinson Economic Development Corporation of systematic violations of state law, including the Texas Open Meetings Act.
I've gone back over 2 years of your agendas and your minutes. I can find an illegality in almost every meeting that's been held.
Last month, I warned the EDC their meeting violated state law. Their public agenda failed to say why they were going into secret consultation with their lawyer.
The meeting should then be adjourned. You should issue a proper agenda and then come back.
I appreciate the input from Mr. Dolcefino. One wonders where he went to law school.
I guess the new city attorney thinks he's funny.
I've tangled with a lot of arrogant city attorneys over the years, but Mr. Doan, he's quite the jerk. And he also doesn't tell the truth to the citizens of Dickinson about the law in Texas.
You're absolutely allowed to go into executive session to talk to your lawyer. But what you're not allowed to do is go into executive session to talk to your lawyer and not tell the people who elected you what you're talking about.
Before I left the EDC meeting, I warned them that we wouldn't stand for this illegality, that paying the Rusty Hardin law firm $500 an hour to help them hide their secrecy is yet another example of why the mayor should be recalled. Jesse Brantley, too. And then council should fire the city attorney before he costs them any more money.
You're wrong. Okay, I'll see you in court. Sounds good. Waste your city's money. Fine.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, waste it. Unbelievable.